So in this video, we're gonna create a listener and write the function when you click here on get quote. So let's open the project. Here on the top, I'm going to write this form. I'm gonna create a variable using this ID. So we're gonna call this one const form. Is going to be equals to document get element by ID, and we're gonna pass request code. Then on the event listeners, we're gonna listen for the submit. So right here, I'm gonna add when the form is submitted, and we're gonna add the variable form, add event listener. We're gonna pass the submit, and then we're gonna write the function right here. And we're gonna add the function right here. And of course, if you want to create a separate function, you already know how to do something like that. I'm gonna add e prevent the default. So this is going to prevent the default submission, and then we're going to write the code that is going to be executed when the form is submitted. Something that we can do in this part is to create a function called event listeners, like this, and add these both event listeners right here, and then execute these event listeners. Something like this, in order to add these event listeners outside of the global scope. So then, for example, we're gonna create three different variables. If you take a look here on the design, you can see we need to write a variable to get this value from the make, also for the year, and also for the level. So we're gonna create a const that is called make, and we're gonna use document get element by ID. And in this case, we're gonna use this ID that is called make. I'm gonna show you something. So for example, when you have something like this, copy this. When you have a select like this, and let's say that you try to get a quote from an European car, and you here on the console type this selector, you can see that this is going to return the world element. When you have an input text, you can add value. If you add something like this, you can see we have the number 3. Or there is a second method that you can use. And I'm gonna, for example, create a new variable const selected. We're gonna say something like make select equals to document get element by ID. And then you're going to add another one, const selected make equals to make that options, and then inside square brackets you add again make select, and a dot and selected index dot value, and then you call selected make. This is going to return also the number 3. So both ways are a nice way of doing something like this, just in case that you found a code like this when you are working with a project. So we're gonna call this one value. We're gonna create a second one. It's going to be the year. Document get element by ID, and we're gonna select the year also, and we're gonna add value. So then we're gonna set both variables into the console.log make and console.log year. Save this, and I'm gonna make this smaller. I'm gonna select American and 2010, and we're gonna click here on get quote, and you can see we have number 1 and number 2010. We're printing 1 right here. If you inspect the code right here, or better, if you open the index.html, the value of these makes is 1, 2, and 3. So if you scroll a little, you can see that these radio buttons doesn't have any IDs. If you add something like ID here, and you add ID coverage, for example, you cannot use coverage right here, because you should add only one ID per document with this name. So we're gonna see how you can read. I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna add a comment, read the values from the form. And here I'm gonna create a new comment that says read the radio buttons. So we're gonna write a code like this. We're gonna call this variable level. This is going to be the level of protection. Then we're gonna use document query selector. And we're gonna use something similar to a CSS3 selector. We're going to add input. Then inside curly square brackets, I'm gonna pass this name. You can see that the name is level in both. So we're gonna add name equals to level. And then we're gonna use a pseudo selector, and we're gonna check for the checked one. The one that is checked is going to be returned. Then we're going to access the value. So if you try to copy this and open this in Chrome, you can see I open console. You can see that we have basic, so copy this and paste, and you can see we have basic. If I change this to complete and run this again, now you can see we have complete. So this is a nice way to check which of these radio buttons is select. And now you can see that we have the 3 different variables. So right here I'm going to add a comment. Check that all the fields have something. Some content should be in all the different fields. So we're going to add an if statement. And right here we're going to check for the different conditions. If make is equals to nothing, or the year is also equals to nothing, or the level is also equal to nothing, we're going to print an error. Console.log error. Of course, we're going to create a better message. Else console.log. All right. So save this and let's open the project again. You can see here on the make, I'm not going to select anything, and we're gonna click get quote. You can see we had error. In the case of the year, you can see that you cannot leave this empty, and also for the radio. But this is the nice way that you can use to check that all the different fields in a form have something before you perform something in your code. So basically we need to change this from a make. We need to add any make, and this is going to pass this validation. So select a make and click here on get quote. Now you can see we have all right. So in the next video we're gonna print an error using this. Then we're going to make all the different calculations and print the results in the else statement. So let's continue working in the next video.